Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Paula Duren, and I am the Director of Universal Dementia Caregivers. And we're having a discussion today on handling aggressive behaviors in our loved ones living with dementia. And before we start that conversation, I want to just say thank you to all of those that are out there, the workers that are still working on the line, that are taking care of us, that are doing everything they can to help us stay safe during this pandemic. And Universal Dementia wants to add our piece and our value as we continue to support caregivers. Because even though our caregivers, people don't think of them in our home caregivers necessarily as frontline, I do feel that our caregivers are frontline people that are taking care of others. And we wanted to make sure that as issues presented themselves, that they had some resources to support the work that they do. So I've had a number of people contact me to talk about aggressive behaviors in their loved ones. And it's interesting, one of the first reactions is, especially if it's what might be more violent or really surprising, I want you to know that loved ones with dementia at some point it depends on the person, not everyone experiences aggressive behaviors, but it is very difficult to deal with. And as a caregiver, we know that every day is different. So they may become angry, they may have outbursts, they may curse at us, they may even make us feel threatened in some ways. And normally in the disease progression with dementia-related diseases, it's in the middle to late stages of the middle phases that our loved ones might experience or express themselves in aggressive manners. I know when I was caring for my mother became cursed at me for the first time in my life during this time period. And I have to be honest, I fell out laughing. I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm how old? And my mother's cursing me for the first time in my life. So what I focused on is that this is not my mother's normal process, but it's the disease that's taken over her brain. And you need to remember that as we talk today, we want to talk about causes and strategies. But I want to emphasize before I get into any more that they're not doing it on purpose. They're not doing it to hurt you or to harm you in particular. It's the brain disease, and they are losing. It might be that part of the brain that controls, that allows for self-control and manages behavior that's being destroyed in our loved one at that point. I always tell people that each of us has the ability that we've all felt like we wanted to curse at some point, and we wanted to tell somebody off. And something in our brain, that filter that says, don't do it, said, no, let's not do that. Many of our loved ones have lost that filter. That filter has been destroyed. So that what comes up comes out versus that barrier that most of us carry around that controls our behavior. So let's start talking a bit about knowing that dementia. We think about dementia oftentimes and dementia diseases as impacting thoughts and cognitions, but our brain also controls not only our memories, but it controls our emotions and our behaviors. So in that discussion, we need to know that it's a brain disease. It's not on purpose. It's not directed at you, and it's oftentimes out of their control. And when you think about it, a person who at one point in time could remember the sequence of how you brush your teeth, or the sequence of how you put your clothes on. And when I say sequence, if you really think about it, it's really a task to do a lot of things. For example, to brush your teeth, this is what you have to think about. You have to first think about getting up, going to the right bathroom, finding the light switch. Once you're in the bathroom, you then have to find your toothbrush, then find the toothpaste, then apply the toothpaste to the toothbrush. Then after that, then put it in your mouth. Oh, maybe you need some water. I didn't think about the water. It's a step. But know that really many of the tasks that we take for granted are very complicated. And if indeed my brain is now not functioning the way that I normally would function, I might become extremely frustrated. And you too, you might become extremely frustrated in the sequence if you can remember parts of it, but not all of it. So aggression is not uncommon. But one of the things, a couple of things to step back and think about is that oftentimes they're triggers. And when I say triggers, there's some things that that might be general things, because one of the things, or the coping strategies, or how to handle this, is to learn the triggers of your loved one. It might be discomfort, it might be pain, it might be the environment's too stimulating. And I say that because there are many of us that have other folks in the house, and a conversation, it's fascinating, just a conversation goes back and forth. I have dementia. I cannot handle that movement as quickly as you do, if I can handle it at all. Or the environment's overstimulating because the music's too loud, or I'm extremely cold, and I need to understand that all those things can cause or trigger a reaction in me or from me. So 5 common causes of aggression. I already told you the major triggers that I want you to think about. They might not recognize you, and that could be a trigger for aggression. Now, why is that so, Paula? It might be that I look at you and I don't know you, and I become frightened. And even as much as that hurts us, that they don't know us, know that they're not doing it on purpose. I keep emphasizing that. So they may not recognize friends and family. And again, a woman or a mom or dad might attack you or a loved one because they're afraid of you. They don't really know who you are. They no longer identify you as the person I know as my daughter or my son. But I do want to caution you, people with dementia may not remember your name, but given the right environments, they can remember your energy and your spirit and how you treat them. And to me, that's really key, how we choose to treat them. A loved one might also, as we talk about possible common factors around what causes aggression, it's been said that poor food intake, and with the weight loss, not eating properly, and the brain's not functioning properly, they might impact their mood. Their mood then impacts how they behave towards you. It might be just simple misunderstandings. And I say simple because, again, it may appear simple. Say you say something to the person. They may not, first of all, understood you. They may not have heard everything you said. And that in and of itself can cause a certain level of confusion in the person. And it's important to be sensitive to that. And as much as I hate to tell you this, caregivers, sometimes we can be the source of the trigger. And I know we want to help so bad, and we love them so much, but every now and then we get frustrated with them and we get tired of them. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with telling the truth on yourself. You get tired and you need a break yourself, and how you engage them could influence how they react to you. There's some research out that says that they mirror your behaviors. So if you come in angry and upset, and it may not even be about them, it might be about something else. You may have just talked to Social Security and it didn't go the way you wanted to go, and you invested a lot of time, they kept you on hold forever, and you're frustrated, and then you're going in to service your loved one, and you're frustrated, and guess what? You bring that frustration to them. And what you may get from them is a reaction. So how do we cope with this stuff? Since you're saying it can't happen, doesn't happen to everyone, but it can happen. One of the first things I think that is so important for caregivers is to be prepared with realistic expectation. Our loved ones have strengths, and they have things that they're no longer able to do. Focus on their strengths and support them, and to help them try and remain as independent as possible. Because sometimes it's viewed that we're taking over. Well, we want to help so much. I say continually assess their capabilities and what they can do and what they can't do. Not allowing frustration to build up for them, but not getting in the way. It's like a balance, not doing everything, but not letting them struggle either. And it's an everyday assessment of capabilities. And I need to emphasize right here that you can't do this work if you don't love the person you're serving. And because love sometimes is the key to helping us mellow out, is that this person was my mom, or this person was my dad, or this was my sister or my brother, my uncle. And we had a relationship, and as a result of that relationship, we spent time, I am better able to know that I can help this person. So your response is key. It's really important, you're key. So we're going to start with being realistic. and understanding the disease and the stages of the disease, because that will help us in our journey of support. We will make sure that there's safety in the house. If there's aggressive behavior, you need to make sure, and you've seen the behavior before, make sure there are no guns in the house that are unsecured or other things or weapons, because I don't want you frightened because you frightened, and we want you and the loved one safe. So get a safe box if there's a gun, or get it out the house. Or when we were kids growing up, there was a shotgun that sat behind one of the doors in the house. And at this point, if I were thinking about it, I would have removed that gun, but I wasn't thinking about it. But if there are things around you that aren't safe, make the environment safe. Create a calm living space. Calm could mean not a lot of clutter, not a lot of noise, but a place of peace. It's like home is the sanctuary, which is what I think we've done during this pandemic, is really making home a safe space. And if the person is really upset with you and being verbal, but not coming towards you or anything, sometimes just don't argue with them. Because you know, when you argue with them, that just causes an escalation of what's going on. Don't argue. Don't defend yourself. Don't try and convince them they're wrong. Because all that does, with most people, it would just aggravate them more. Remain calm. And if you need to leave the room and you know the person is safe in the room they're in, just leave the room for a moment. It allows you to breathe, but it also allows the person to potentially calm a bit. And if there is a nice thing about dementia, the nice thing about dementia is that they won't remember anyway over time. Use the art of distraction. The art of distraction is finding other conversations, putting on that special music, because music is soothing to not only you, but it's soothing to the loved one. So put their favorite record on. Do something that gives you another option or distraction to focus on. We already talked about this. If you can come to understand their patterns, what happened just before they got upset. One of the things I've seen in supporting loved ones that come to us in the organization is that sometimes those triggers can be picked out and understood. One of the things that one family we supported is that there was a niece that every time that niece came over to see the grandfather, the young woman left, the grandfather became very angry. And so we didn't know what was going on. So I said, you all pay attention to see if the niece is the trigger, because we don't know what kind of conversations they're having or things that are going on when they're visiting. And then one of the things they found out, that regardless, when the niece left, there was a trigger that caused that person to become really upset and angry at other people in the house. It could be a television program, something really violent on TV that can serve as a trigger. So just pay attention to what happens just prior to the aggressive behavior that you see. So you're looking for patterns, you're leaving the space if need be, you're not going to argue with them, and you're going to remain calm. We would also recommend that another distraction may be focusing on the past, talking about things that they knew in the past or people they loved in the past, and you know that they're special to them because they've spoken about them at some point. Avoid allowing them to get fatigued, because when you're fatigued, I know when I'm too tired, I might say some things that aren't quite inappropriate, might be a bit inappropriate. Don't let them get too, because again, one of the things that's really frustrating is they may no longer have the ability to tell you what's wrong. And if I don't have the ability to tell you what's wrong, I'm trying to get it out and I'm trying to communicate, but I don't have the words anymore. And that can become extremely frustrating. Listen, if you can hear past the emotion and really look at the patterns, see what's going on for them that may be causing them to be upset. You also need to rule out pain, because sometimes people become aggressive because they're in pain. And I can't say to you that my back is hurting me so bad that I can't sit up straight, but they may be grimacing. They may be giving you signs that there's some pain that's going on. And if you've been a great detective, which I know you have as a caregiver, a great detective, you're learning so much about your loved one, you know how they express pain. And so I encourage you to eliminate pain And in those situations where we talked about where they feel like they're not being successful, help them feel successful. I think that's important too. You need to keep your doctor apprised of what's going on, because if there comes a point in time where you feel like you can no longer handle it, medications are available, but that's the kind of thing you have to decide with your physician if you want to use medication. You also need to get your own support system. So if you're in the house by yourself, you still need to have some healthy people in your life that you can call. To call and they kind of talk you down, not call and you escalate with them like, yes, I know that's such a hard behavior to deal with it. He shouldn't have did that, or any of those kinds of things. That's not the person you need to talk to. You need to talk to someone that says, it's part of the dementia process. They're not angry with you. Are you safe? Let's just talk you through how you're feeling. And so then when you get off the phone, you feel a bit more uplifted in supporting the loved one that you are, you've been given support to. Another thing, that if it comes to a point, you may need to call 911. If you feel unsafe, but prior to calling 911, please set up the information with them that this is a loved one who has dementia. We don't want them coming in thinking that someone's just threatening you, but it's a loved one with dementia, and that prepares him to say, I engage a person with dementia differently than it would someone who was just being violent, and it was totally in their control. So there's a story I'd like to share with you. There was a family we were supporting, and the husband was physically aggressive. The husband was much larger than the wife, and in talking with her, she felt so threatened. It was suggested that she might want to place him in respite for a few days until she could figure out how to handle the situation. Because sometimes it gets overwhelming, and overwhelming does not mean give up. It means find another solution. So she placed him in temporary respite care in a very nice facility, because the anger doesn't last forever necessarily. But she had become so frightened that she herself couldn't handle it. So placed him in a safe place. His behavior changed again over time. And then she could figure out how she could best support him. She wanted to keep him at home and not place him in a facility permanently. So what she did was put a plan together to get some additional support in the house and set up relationships better with his children so that they could also help, because she was by herself and was not receiving any assistance. So there's always another way of thinking about what we can do. Another situation was sometimes they become aggressive because they become a little bit paranoid. They see things, they may see things or have hallucinations, and those hallucinations may make them be afraid. So it's important, again, as you start to serve, that those things are real for them, even though we can't see them. Those people or things that they see are real. Your job is reassurance, your job is support, but you have to remain safe in doing it. I wanted to show you a model. I'm thinking if I could see it here very quickly. I don't see it very quickly, so I'll have to show it to you later. We've designed a model that starts with you. So in any of these situations where you find that you're feeling kind of frightened yourself or out of control or worried, you have to first settle your spirit. You have to first get to a place where, and maybe you have to get out of the room and give yourself a minute and allow yourself to think. Because if something happened, you might be so stressed yourself that you no longer can see it. And so really calm your own spirit and think about what is it that's happening right now? And can I handle this now, or do I need help? And if you're feeling personally threatened, you may need help. You should then go get help. Or do I need to just calm myself, give it 10 minutes, and then come back and see what's happening? But you have to gauge that as the caregiver, because I need you to know that for some people, aggressive behaviors are normal. So what did I say do? What could I say? Let me give you a real quick repeat. 1, in the process of caring for someone with dementia-related diseases, they may become aggressive. They may curse at you for the first time. They may accuse you of doing things. And that's a whole nother discussion on accusations they normally make. And maybe we'll do that one soon. But they're real for them. And first thing is you start thinking about, are we both safe? And if we are both safe and you feel that we can engage, please then start thinking about what are the triggers? What am I seeing happen? Keep a journal. A journal will help you know what to see. And knowing that, then be prepared to, based on your increasing knowledge of the disease, on how you can handle it. Make sure the home is safe. Make sure there's space. They have space. If they need a moment, give them space, leave the room. Don't argue with them, because all that does is escalate the issue. If you're really feeling frightened, you need to call for support and deal with that. Contact their doctor to make sure that none of the medications are causing the behavior, because sometimes medications that they're on can cause them to behave and react in that manner. Get the necessary support you need. Use distractions like music, and control the environment. Avoid fatigue. But as you always do, and I know you do, continue to honor and respect them, because they can feel your energy. Even if they can't tell you what they're feeling, they can feel your energy. That would be my advice. And please know it is not uncommon, but you have to manage you first in order for the process to work. And then after an event occurs, it's always good to reflect on what happened, why it happened, what you could do differently, or what we could handle, how we could handle this more effectively the next time, because it may occur again. So I encourage you to be open to the learning experience. I encourage you to be aware of the environment, aware of any discomforts they might have, aware of any confusions. And I recommend that you do simple, direct communication versus lots and lots of questions, because truthfully, I have dementia. I may not even understand the question that you're asking. Caring for you is our job here at Universal Dementia. It is our pleasure to spend time with you. Feel free to send us questions. You can even just send them on the Facebook page and we can answer them for you. And if you need some personal coaching, send us a note. We would be happy to see if we could be of assistance to you. Have a great day, a blessed day. And our topic for today was aggressive behavior in loved ones living with dementia.